Good morning, everyone. Welcome to LisaBug Yoga. This month we are working on inserting a little bit of high intensity interval training or just basic interval training into our yoga class and our other classes across the board. So that being said, I want you to set the bar for yourself when we do these intervals today. And we're going to be doing some intervals of working on our plank. When we do planks, you can do them several ways. You can plank on a chair. You can even plank up against the wall. You can plank down on the floor from your elbows, your hands, your knees, your toes. You are going to find the best place for you to be successful with our plank intervals. We're also doing some assessments this month to take a measurement of how our fitness level is, whether it be flexibility, balance, strength, endurance, and then we can compare this down the road. And our test that we're going to give instructions on today is called the back scratch test. Interesting, right? In yoga, this is something you all know as cow face arms. So what we do for the back scratch test is after a really good warm up for the shoulders, we do our cow face arms by reaching one hand behind and reaching this way while the other hand reaches behind this way. And then you have to have a person to take a measurement. How close are your hands to touch one another? And you'll record that number. And then you're going to do the other side, reaching back like you're going to scratch your back, reaching underneath, and see how that side for me is much different? That's how you're going to find is that one side will be a lot different than the other. So you're not going to do that with me in class today. That's something that you're going to do on your own, but make sure that you get a good warm up. And then over the next few weeks, we are going to be doing movements in this class that help us with that flexibility. Cow face arms, internal and external shoulder rotation, so that it helps you to get that good flexibility so we can improve the back scratch test. So let's start standing up in a nice mountain pose. And we are going to warm up the shoulders today by just turning the palms forward. And then without allowing your shoulders to move, I just want you to turn your hands to the back. And then just forward and back. And what I'm trying to do is not move my shoulders. So this action is called supination and pronation of the forearm. So I'm just moving my lower arm bone. Now what I want you to do is come forward and then right from your shoulder, turn everything to face the back. So now you're rotating the upper arm bone right in the socket, whatever range of motion that you can go. And this is that shoulder rotation at the upper arm. And a lot of what we do in life, if you think about it, we are rotated inward this way. So I want you to focus on emphasizing the rotation backward. And let's do two more. You can add the breath. Inhale and exhale. One more. And then open it out and hold. In the Western world, this is called the anatomical position. In yoga, mountain pose. So let's keep those palms facing forward and sweep the arms forward as far as you feel comfortable, bringing them up. Then take them down and bring them back behind you as far as you can comfortably go. When we come forward, this is called shoulder flexion. When we come down, shoulder extension. When we go behind, shoulder hyperextension. And these are kinesiology terms that we learn in biomechanics, in anatomy. Not necessary that you remember all of that, but it's good to know that when we come beyond the anatomical position, that's hyperextension. Sometimes hyperextension is given a bad connotation, but it's not in this case, right? It's okay to hyperextend our shoulders and stretch them behind us. It's very functional. Let's do one more. Then come back to the anatomical position. We'll take our arms out to the side and bring them up as close as you can. Maybe you can touch your thumbs together and then bring them down. And I want you to keep your shoulders rotated open. So try not to collapse your shoulders. And this is known as shoulder abduction when the arms go away, adduction when they come back in toward you. And just notice what your comfortable range of motion is with these movements of the shoulder. Let's do one more. Back to the anatomical position. Then open your arms out at about 90 degrees. We'll bring the hands towards each other in front of our body, and then away from each other and as far back behind you as you can comfortably go. So we're working along what's called the horizontal plane or the transverse plane. It has two different names. So this is horizontal or transverse abduction when we go away from the body, from the midline, and adduction when we go toward the midline. If it's uncomfortable for your arms to be up, you can do this down low. Let's do two more here. Really beneficial, dynamic movement. One more. And then lower the arms down. Bring those hands back to that horizontal plane, but bend your elbows. So we have them shortened. Sometimes we call this goalpost arms. So now we're just going to bring our palms, rotate down, and then rotate back as far as you can. So we are doing rotation of that shoulder bone, but it's on a different plane. So our muscles are going to be activated a little bit different because gravity's in a different spot. This is a nice warm up for the rotator cuff, that rotation. And let's do two more here. Go carefully and slowly with these. Try not to force it. And then release back down to the anatomical position. Now we are going to bend the elbows in this plane and rotate the shoulders out and across. And then cross the other palm on top. So another wonderful movement for the shoulders and for the rotator cuff. When we go away from the body, sometimes this is called external rotation. When we come in, internal rotation. Let's do two more. Then come back out to the anatomical position or mountain pose. Now shoulder circumduction. I want you to bring your arms forward through flexion, then open out and come all the way around. So you're basically combining several of these movements that we've already done when we start to bring this into a circle. And never through a range of motion where you're feeling pain. But I want you to feel a stretch. You're finding the edge of the circle, of the circumference of your circle, and maybe as you continue to go, you're expanding that circle. Let's do one more to the back direction. Back to the anatomical position, and then reverse this. So you'll start in shoulder hyperextension by going back, then come around. So we're going shoulder hyperextension, then into abduction, and then to extension of the shoulder. And while we're doing these movements standing, we're grounding strong into the legs and into the core. But this sequence can also be done seated in a chair, absolutely fine. And let's take one more circumduction around and back to the anatomical position. Let's step the right foot forward, the left foot back, and come into a short stance warrior one. So I'd like for your hips to be squared. Your feet are not directly behind each other. That's too tippy. So walk your feet about hips distance apart. Back toe can be turned out slightly. Those arms are open. And we'll bring the left arm up, the right arm down, and then come back to center. Same one again. So one arm going up, one arm going out, down. We're working along the frontal plane of our body. Now, as I start to progress with the range of motion of this, I want you to stay with what works best for you. Now, next time you come up with that left arm, I want you to bend your elbow and try to touch behind your neck, and then come back out. Left arm reaches, you touch behind your neck, and back out. So this is preparing us to warm up for that back scratch assessment. So when you decide to assess your back scratch, it might be a good idea to replay the first part of this video, and that'll give you a nice warm up so that you're ready to do your assessment. Now we'll change it up. So do the same thing with the left arm, but bring the right hand behind your back and start really easily. So we're rotating that shoulder inward, and we're just reaching wherever we feel comfortable bringing the hand behind the back. And eventually you're going to start to work your hands closer and closer together as you do this action. Not forcing, especially in the hand that's behind your back. That can be a little bit challenging for that shoulder. All right, next time we go there, we'll hold this stretch. Now we can always grab a yoga strap and you can hang on to it. That way you can work your fingers towards each other. But when we do that, we're using extra force to get the range of motion. I don't want you to do that today. I want you to just be where you are at here, seeing how close you can get your hands together. Now take a little side stretch over to the right side. You're going to open up the left side ribs and then use the waistline to pull yourself back up. We'll do 5 of these side stretches. Keep your hands in that cow face position. If your arms are getting tired, you're feeling any pain, you can come out of it or just lessen the stretch slightly. All right, let's side stretch one more time and we'll just hold it here. Brace your abs. Try not to drop your chin down. Sometimes there's that tendency when your hand is behind your neck. Keep your chin up in neutral. And then come back up. Release the arms to come out. And back to the anatomical position, stepping the back foot forward. Just check in, make sure this is feeling okay, that you're not having any pain with this sequence. And then we'll step the right foot back, short stance warrior one. Feet about hips distance apart, back toes can be slightly turned out. Come out to the side with the arms. As the right arm comes up, the left arm comes by your side. So if you've had any shoulder injuries, you're working on your range of motion, it's okay just to stay with this one and not move along. And I'm moving at a fair pace, but you can certainly slow this down or slightly speed it up. You're choosing that pace. Now you'll take that right hand and try to reach behind your neck and open back out. So what are we stretching that's different when we bend our elbow? The tricep, the back of the arm. So when our arm is straight, we're not really getting that triceps to stretch. So we're using this dynamic position to start to stretch the back of the right upper arm. And sometimes what happens if your tricep is really tight, as you bend your arm, your elbow is going to want to drop forward. So try to keep your elbow up. That's the most important part. And then you're just going to reach back whatever amount you can go. Now let's add the left arm. So that one's going to come behind your back. So since I'm facing the camera, that is my right arm, which is my dominant arm, and this side is much tighter for me. And that's generally true. Your dominant arm is going to be harder to reach behind your body because it's usually right in front of us doing things, right? So that side is typically tighter. So just be aware of that. When you do the back scratch test, you're not going to be symmetrical. Most of us are going to have one side that's tighter. And it's usually when that dominant side is behind your back. Okay, let's hold this one. And today, not using a yoga strap to force to bring the hands closer together. This is where you are in this moment all by yourself. And let's take a side stretch over to the left. And then back to neutral. Maybe try an inhale when you side stretch and an exhale when you come up. A nice full breath will help you stretch a little more through your rib cage. 2 more. And this last one we will hold. And again, make sure your chin doesn't drop down. So this is cow face arms. And this is our back scratch test position. All right, let's come back up. Release the arms to open out. Come back to the anatomical position, both feet together, or mountain pose. Step the feet out nice and wide. Reach up into 5-pointed star. Inhale. Exhale, sink into goddess squat. So with goddess squat, you bend your knees any amount. Your elbows come slightly below the level of the shoulders. You are going to flex your wrists like you're holding on to 2 heavy objects. You're squeezing your glutes so that your knees don't come forward, so you're pulling them back. We're working our quadriceps and our glutes, bracing through our core, and I want you to imagine you're really holding something heavy, so I want you to tighten your arm muscles. A little bit of isometric work. Spread your fingers apart because that object you're holding is really big. And then we'll do this with the breath. So inhale up, 5-point star. Exhale to goddess squat. Now at your own pace, I've got a little clock timer in front of me, and we are going to do an interval of this. And you're going to pick the pace that you go, the depth that you go, the intensity that you give this, and we have 1 minute starting now. Add your breathing. Focus on your Pada Bandha, that positioning of your feet into the mat. Keep your chest up. Flex your wrists really vigorously so you're firing your forearm muscles. This is our interval. You're halfway, 30 seconds to go. We're going to feel some fatigue in those muscles, heart rate elevating. Nice job, we're almost there. Should feel some fatigue in the shoulders. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then lower your arms down. Just check in, see how you're feeling. Shoulders are back, good strong posture. You might feel like you need to do a couple little stretches or movements of your hands if you're feeling some fatigue in the forearms. And if you vigorously pulled your hands down, you're going to feel this work right here. We have a second round coming up. In 5, 3, 2, begin. 5-pointed star, drop it down. Now I want you to somehow increase the intensity of this second round. Maybe you're going to go lower down into that goddess squat, or tighten the muscles more vigorously of your arms. Make sure you're breathing. This can be challenging, but you're applying that resistance in the upper body. Gravity is applying the resistance to your lower body. And then you are dictating the speed, which increases or decreases intensity. Keep it coming. We have less than 30 seconds to go. Challenge yourself here. Strong bodies. Heart rate elevating, calorie burn increasing, energy burn increasing. 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then release the arms back down and relax. Roll those shoulders back. Check in. Maybe the heart rate's increased, the breathing rate, feeling that work in the muscles. We'll step to the front of our mat, taking our anatomical position, our mountain pose here. Nice and strong through the upper body, pulling those shoulders back. And then we'll bring the arms forward into shoulder flexion, sitting down into our chair pose. As we stand up, we'll pull the elbows back behind us, squeeze your shoulder blades like you're rowing in a boat, and activate those muscles of the upper back. And come forward and pull back. So we've got an interval coming up, and you're going to dictate how hard you move this for 1 minute. So you can go really fast. You can just do it a little bit faster. Really activate those muscles. So I'm going to face this way so I can see my timer. All right, inhale to prepare. Exhale and begin. Now I have my feet tight together. You are doing the chair pose the way you like it. You can have your feet hips distance apart. Your arms can come forward any amount. So if your shoulders will allow, your arms can come up higher. But I want you to focus on that pull back, that squeeze right through the shoulder blades. Try not to excessively drop the chest. Keep it lifted. Squeeze your glutes, squeeze your bum as you come up, and exhale there. Good job, good job. We're down to about 15 seconds. If your shoulders are bothering you, keep this low. Focus more on the legs. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Find that anatomical position, that mountain pose. Pause for a moment. Noticing what you're feeling in your body. The effects of that interval training. Can you take it a little bit more intense? So really think about how you want to move in this next 1 minute segment. So we'll inhale to prepare. The heart rate has had a chance to come down a little. In 5, 4, 3, 2, and begin. Good chair pose and squeeze back. Activate those muscles. as quickly as you can, depending on where you want to set the bar. But form is of utmost importance. So try not to go so fast that you're just, letting momentum take over. I want you to do the complete movement. Really good form. It's nice functional action for those of you that do a little kayaking in the summer. Really working those legs. Maybe try to go a little deeper down. Core is tight. 15 seconds to go. Heating up the body, vigorous work. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Back to that anatomical position and relax. I'm going to head back to the top of my mat. Just check in, see how you're feeling. If the heart rate is really elevated, take a moment before you come into a forward bend, because we don't want to take the head below the heart while it's vigorously pumping blood. So let that come down a little bit. And then we are going to move through a nice dynamic forward fold. So we'll sweep the arms forward, up, around, and then as they're coming behind you, soften your knees and come down into your forward bend. Now we'll reverse the circumduction as you come up. Bring your arms back first, up, around, and back to your start. Inhale, arms forward, back, around, bend your knees, come down, reverse. Three more repetitions. So this is not a high intensity, so we don't want to go really fast. This is active recovery. Working our shoulders through your nice range of motion with circumduction, stretching the back of the legs. Hamstrings are releasing. On this last repetition, we'll be holding our forward bend. Now, when you hold a forward bend, you have a lot of options here. You can place your hands on your shins for a little support, on top of a chair, on your blocks. Hands can come to elbows for ragdoll, and you can just hang and let gravity assist. Knees can be bent as much as you need. One more breath. Then bend your knees as much as you feel you need to bring your hands down to your mat and step your feet back. Come into all fours position. So at its simplest level, we're going to do a bird dog, extending the right leg back, and then bringing the right knee in towards your chest and rounding your back. Right leg goes back, and bring it in and round. So we're doing some spinal extension and flexion to work on firing the abdominals and moving that low back through a really good range of motion. Next option, as the right leg goes back, the left arm lifts off the floor, and we can set it back down, or we can bring the elbow across to the knee. So a lot of what I do in my classes is progressive so that you can start with the basic movement and decide which level is good for you today and where you want to take it. Let's do one more. Then reach out and hold, level off your hips, pull your abs in. This was one of our exercises from the New York Times for longevity. It's a great one to do every single day. All right, let's lower the hand, lower the knee, push back to child's pose. So I'm going to give you a high intensity option for that same side. If you don't wish to take it today, you're going to go back and just repeat what we did. High intensity version, we lift into down dog, dropping the heels. And if you say, I already know this one isn't going to work for me today, then you're going back to hands and knees. Right leg lifts, and then we'll shift into plank and pull the knee forward, rounding our back. Take it back up and bring it forward. So if this one's okay for you, we're going to try doing this high intensity interval for 45 seconds. So get yourself down and rest for a second, maybe shake out your wrists. So you're either doing bird dog with the right leg or down dog with the right leg. Get ready, prepare, and begin. So this is okay if you do that with your left knee down, or if you do just maybe 3 or 4 reps in the 45 seconds up and down dog. You could even put your hands on a chair and try this one too, as long as your chair didn't slip. We have 15 seconds. Our arms are doing shoulder flexion and extension. One more rep. Rest down to the hands and knees, child's pose, or any other recovery position. If you need a little stretch for your wrist, take it. If you need to bring your hands back to relax your shoulders. And then we're going to take all of those options again in the same progression on the other side. So we're coming up to hands and knees, finding a good neutral spine. Left leg goes back. Left knee pulls into chest, scoop the abs, round. Inhale for your extension. Exhale for your flexion. Now, this is a great pose and exercise in and of itself to really work the core. So if you're not advancing any further than this today, that's okay. I really want you to focus on tightening your abdominals when you pull in. Now our next option, of course, is to add the right arm reaching. It can come back down to the mat, or you can pull your elbow across to your knee. Adding a lot of bit of stability here for the core in this exercise or in this sequence. Two more. Take a break. Or no, we're holding first. Spinal balance, bird dog. Finding a good neutral spine, level hips, so try not to let your left hip hike up. Push it down so it's level with the floor. All right, now let's take a break. Maybe child's pose. So you might recall what we did on the other side, but I'm going to give you a chance to do about 3 reps first before you want to see if it's going to work for you to do the interval in down dog. So let's come on up. Dropping those heels down. Stay really powerful through your shoulders there. Then we'll lift our left leg up. As we move forward to plank, we'll bring that left knee into the chest and round the back. Push vigorously with your hands away from you as you come up. Then scoop your abs in. One more trial repetition. And take a break down. Take any recovery so that you know what you want to do for 45 seconds. Okay, we've got a high intensity interval coming up. It's okay to be here in bird dog. Get ready to begin. Inhale to prepare. Exhale and go. So left leg extends and that knee comes in. Find a pace where you can set and make it to the finish if possible. But it's okay if you only get 3 or 4 reps and then you need to drop down to your knees and finish in bird dog. Strong shoulders. Strong triceps. Heart rate's coming up. Really vigorous work. 10 seconds to go. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And relax. Take a nice complete recovery. Just close your eyes, let your breathing slow down. Give yourself some positive self-talk. Even if you just tried one of them, you tried. And I want you to tell yourself, congratulations, you did your very best. That was really good. And we've got some goal setting ahead of us to get a little stronger. All right, let's come forward and bring your elbows in front of you. Walk your knees back behind you and come into Sphinx. So our belly is going to drop. If this is too much of a back bend, walk your elbows forward a little bit so your back isn't as extended into as much of a back bend. So we are going to be doing a 30-second forearm plank. It's going to be most effective if you have your elbows and your shoulders in direct alignment with each other. When you do this plank, you can just lift your belly off the mat and stay on your knees, or you can tuck your toes and lift your knees up off the mat. So choose where you'd like to go with this forearm plank. We have 5 seconds to start. 3, 2, and begin. 30 seconds. What's most important is your body is as straight as you can get it. So our bum is not up in the air. Our hips are not sagging. We have a good alignment through the head, that cervical spine. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Come back to your Sphinx. Or if you need to relax all the way down, you can make a pillow for your forehead just to relax your shoulders here. Now, just like we did with our 5-pointed star and our chair pose intervals, we're going to do one more 30-second interval of our plank. And that's a great way to build endurance in our planks by taking 2 shorter rounds rather than 1 longer round. Okay, so begin to get yourself set up. 1 breath to begin, and go. 30 seconds. Really press your forearms down into the mat. Try not to sag into your shoulders. Really good intensity through your shoulder girdle. If your knees are off the mat, tighten your thighs. Scoop your abs in really tight. Keep breathing through this. 10 seconds. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Come down and take a complete recovery, either Sphinx or laying all the way down. So if you're feeling any pain in your lower back after doing a plank, then sometimes that's an indication that the abdominals were a little bit weak and gave up a little bit, and you started taking the work into your back. All right, let's press yourself back up. Hands and knees, bring those knees underneath you. So we're going to go through our thread the needle just to stretch our shoulders, our lower back, and our spine. So we'll inhale that right arm up. And before you reach through, I want you to turn your thumb and reach that hand behind you like you're going to do thread the needle, cow face. Then reach back up. Now thread the needle underneath. So we'll inhale to lift the arm. Exhale to reach it behind the back, any amount. Inhale to reach it back up. Exhale to take it under. 3 more. Breathe in, reach up. Breathe out, bring it behind your back. Breathe in and breathe out. One more time. And then we'll hold our thread the needle. Now the left arm, I'd like for you to do your cow face arm with that side by bringing your left hand behind your back. And you can either reach that hand toward the leg or you can try to sneak your fingers up your back any amount. And we'll hold this. Let your heart rate come down. Take some nice deep breaths. It's such a wonderful pose, feeling a nice stretch through your right shoulder. It's a gentle twist, so we're feeling that release in the back. And it's a nice little stretch for your neck as well. Now just bring your left hand right back down to the mat. Carefully bring it from behind your back. Try not to wrench it as you do. Press yourself back up to all fours. Now the left arm, on an inhale, reach it up. Hold there. Try to bring that left hand behind your back. Inhale it back up. Exhale, reach it under. 5 repetitions. Now, if this is at all uncomfortable, bringing your hand behind your back, just simply bring your hand to your hip. So at least you're doing a little bit of that action. But you can just bring your hand right down on your hip. Use your core to help stabilize yourself here when you're in this upward rotation position for the obliques. I think this is our last one, number 5. So we'll reach through on that thread the needle hold. And now our right arm will very gently reach behind and find your cow face position here as best as you can get it and just hold. Level off your hips. Make sure you have the same amount of weight into both knees so you're not leaning over onto one side. And then unwrap that arm. Bring your hand down to the mat. And use that arm strongly to press yourself back up to all fours. So we are going to come into pigeon today. And if pigeon is not a good pose for you, then take this moment to quickly flip over onto your back for figure 4 stretch, or you can even come up to sit in your chair and do your seated figure 4. So I want you to decide now which one you'd like to do. If you want to do pigeon, but you need to have a prop or two to help lift your hip, have that ready. And you're going to move into this pose, our hip opener, any way that you would like to. So a typical way to come into pigeon would be to start in your down dog and bring your right knee forward towards your right wrist. Bring your right foot out toward your left hip so it's coming across. And you'll kind of know right away if this just isn't going to work for you to hold it. Roll over onto your back, cross your right ankle over your left thigh. And then I always like to have a little support under my hip. So take your time to get into your pose because we're going to be there for a bit to really stretch. Taking whatever variation works for you, we're going to really allow that hip to open and to relax and surrender to the pose. Releasing tight glutes, piriformis muscle, softening those muscles that are around the sciatic nerve. And there are a fair amount of modifications for pigeon, so you can add a twist to it if you'd like. You can, kind of like a thread the needle, you can bring your right arm kind of underneath your body, support your head with a block, and you can twist this. Or you can come up, reaching back for the back ankle, so you can add that quad stretch. Just taking a look at my timer, we have 1 minute left on this side to stretch. Or if you're watching later on YouTube, you want to stay longer, just hit the pause and stay there as long as you'd like. And really stay present with your mind on this stretch so that you're listening and feeling for any signs that your body's telling you to exit the pose or to make adjustments. We have about 15 seconds. Two more breaths. And start to think about how you would like to come out of this pose. So take your time. You could be going into child's pose or up into down dog, or if you're laying on your back, you can grab your knees, hug them in, do some knee circles or some windshield wipers. But try not to rush right into the other side. So let your body kind of start to come back to a balanced place. And then prepare for the other side. So with our pigeon, we'll bring the left knee toward the left wrist, the left foot toward the right hip or that right hip flexor as we come down. Using any props that you need. Or if you're on your back for figure four, cross your left ankle over your right thigh and hug those knees right up into your chest. And there's no rush to find your edge. Take your time. Try not to go from 0 to 60 in 5 seconds. Really take your time to ease yourself into the pose. And one reason is I would imagine that this has happened to most all of us. Sometimes we try to vigorously get into a position and something in our body cramps up. Maybe it's our foot or a toe or our hamstring. And the body is saying, oh, you did that too quick, so I'm going to fight you back on that. So really ease into your stretches. And now once you're there, relax and breathe. In your pigeon, you can take the stretch by threading the left arm across, like that, thread the needle. Or you can bring that heel up, pulling it towards you to stretch the quadricep. And it's always a good idea just to notice any differences between your right and left sides, not being judgmental of yourself or having expectations, but just noticing, saying, oh, this is interesting. I'm going to make a little note of that for next time. And if you're a person who likes to journal, those are some things that you can jot down. Say, in today's yoga class, I was a lot tighter on my left side, so maybe I need to work on that a little bit more. We are down to 30 seconds remaining. And just about 2 more deep breaths. And then again, start to think about how you would like to come out of this pose. Take your time. We are going to come onto our backs. So not dictating from me the way to get there, because everybody's a little bit different at the moment. So take your time to come all the way down into a supine position. And when we come into the anatomical position when laying on our back, that is Shavasana. Very similar to our anatomical position or our mountain pose. We'll rotate the palms to face up. Take your feet about hips distance apart. Let your toes slightly roll away from each other so that you're relaxing through your hips. And sometimes Shavasana isn't the most comfortable for everybody. So if you need to select a different resting position, you can bend your knees and set your feet flat. Allow your knees to touch towards each other. Or come into Baddha Konasana to let the soles of the feet touch and the knees open apart. And we'll just bring our awareness to our breath and allow it to slow. Bring it low into the belly as you inhale. Feeling the belly rise. And the belly falls as you exhale. Now take your awareness to your shoulders. We spent a lot of time on this part of our body today, so just check in. And for a moment, let's thank our shoulders for helping to support us when we're on our hands and knees, when we're in downward facing dog. Appreciating the integrity of our shoulders, where we are today, the integrity of the muscles around the shoulders. If we were aware of a weakness in this area of our body, then let's pay attention to this area and be mindful of continuing to strengthen, being consistent in our exercise program, building strength in the shoulders. And then just quiet the brain, quiet the mind, and completely relax the body. And prepare yourself for movement now. Maybe softly just wiggling your fingers and toes. Then decide which side of your body you'd like to roll to. If it's your right side, take your right arm up above your head, bend your knees, set your feet down, lift your hips up off the floor and rotate so now you're rolling to the right side of your body. And then start to press yourself up, coming to a comfortable seat. Eyes can remain closed for a breath or two. Find a nice long spine. And we'll breathe together to close our practice. Inhale, bring the arms up. Exhale, press the palms together, and we'll bring the thumbs down to the forehead, our third eye center, and we'll pause there for a moment. This is our area of knowledge and wisdom. So we linger here for positive thoughts. Then allow your thumbs to come to the lips to make that connection. This is our voice where we speak. And we linger here for positive words. Then allow your thumbs to come down and connect with the heart center in our Anjali Mudra. This is our area of gratitude and of honor. And we linger here for grateful and positive actions. We'll bow our chin slightly to our chest. And the light and joy that resides within me, honor the light and joy in each of you. Namaste. I appreciate you all so much. Thank you for joining me today. If you have anything you'd like to chat about, and especially if you have questions on the back scratch test, jump on with me for a few minutes after class. And